They said, okay, Ernie, I'm gonna just pick Ernie, just because I don't know which one was which, but, because nobody could, that's why they called them the cuates. Nobody could tell who they were, so they just, hey, the cuate, hey, cuate. So whenever we see them, hey, cuate, and, they were used to that. So they said, we're gonna send you up to double A, let's say. And he said, okay. And my brother, he's going up? No, not yet. He'll be there next month. I says, he says, no, if he doesn't go, I'm not gonna go. And that's what killed their career. That's the story. I haven't heard it from them, but that's what I've heard. And we gotta know that you don't split twins, in something like that. You just don't.
So they were inseparable.
Exactly.
Mel, ¿quién más? Who else that came from Colby? Do you remember anybody else?
Well, if you want to go way back, this is my next project as far as back in the 30s.
Tell us about
I've
your
got
next
another project that I'm going to, hopefully I can do, that these are before even the Mercuries, who started in 39. I'm talking guys in late,
1916?
well, not that far back, late 20s, 30s, early 30s. And you had, because I've already got pictures of them. In fact, I donated a couple of those pictures. They didn't put them in the book, but they're real long, so it's kind of hard to. But they were the, I forgot to say, Odie Abril, which was Manuel's, going back to the Abrils. He signed, didn't make the majors, but I think he went to triple A. He did well.
He's the son of one of the Abrils.
Manuel.
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 And he went to Colton High School.
Exactly, yeah. Very good athlete. He was a good baseball mainly.
Mhm.
And he played for the Red Sox. There's Camilo Canhabs.
I'm gonna have to run, but
Yeah.
están en su casa. Nuestra casa es su casa.
Okay.
Make yourselves at home.
Okay.
And I will see you later. Eh?
Oh,
Okay.
thank
But,
you.
thank you. Please
Cesar.
continue with the interview. I will
Good to see you.
later.
Thank you
Good
so
to
much.
see you all.
All right.
Hasta luego.
Nice seeing you.
Thank you.
Okay, back in the is that still running? or-
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, they had they called them the Colton Centrals. Then later on, they were a combination of San Bernardino, Colton Centrals. But the main players there were the Casorena brothers. There was 4 very good players. And I mentioned to you, this is like the blacks during the 20s and 30s, where they were as good or better, a lot of the major league players, but they were invisible. We were invisible. And so you had those 4 brothers, and you had
Who were the brothers?
the brothers were the total. There was 4 that I know of.
Okay.
Arturo, there was
Casorena.
Casorena, Sal Casorena, whose daughter became the teacher.
Sylvia.
Yeah. Then there was Porfirio,
Mhm.
and there was a Pio. That's what I said. Well, that's the same guy. Well, I talked to Tommy Casorena, whose dad was Porfirio, and he said, no, Pio was another brother.
Mhm.
I don't know how that happened, because usually short for Porfirio's Pio. But those were the 4. And then you had Milton Noriega, who late 20s, early 30s owned El Sombrero. It
He was
a-
the owner of Sombrero.
Yes, yeah. Dance hall. And there was a couple of brothers, Joe and Ambrosio Gonzalez. Then there was Juan Hernandez, which is Luis' dad,
Mhm.
Luis Hernandez's dad. Then there was Tilo Duarte. There was a Teo Duarte, but Teo was his son.
Okay.
Teo played later on with
The Mercuries.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then there was Andres Negrete, and then I found out Cayetano Calderia, who's Chon Calderia's dad.
Hmm.
I didn't even know he played.
Mhm.
I called Chon the other day because I'm going to be needing all these guys, all the sons, to
Mhm.
put because I want to nominate them maybe next year. Because these guys, a lot of people didn't even know they played or never heard of them. They're lost, And if you don't do something like I did with my mom and her team, and like I say, you have to put them in a team, because my feelings, I was just, like I said earlier, I was going to just put my mom, I said, no, a team's a team. You need all the good, the bad players, and no good players to play, not just one. So I'm thinking, if I can do this, they won't just be lost and forgot, which is already happening. But if you have their picture there in the Hall of Fame,
No, it's very, very timely, because I had no idea that we had these ball players that were very active in the late 20s and all through the 30s.
great ball players,
Mhm.
great ball players.
Yeah.
The cement plant had a team too. In fact, one of the players,
The Portland Cement had a team?
and a couple of the Arturo and Sal were on that team, and
Uh-huh.
there was a Joe Gonzalez and John Hernandez, Luis, that was on that team, and then the others were Anglos.
Mhm.
One of the Anglos, he's in the Hall of Fame at Colton, not in baseball Hall of Fame. Gordon Maltzberger.
Oh, yes, he played ball.
Well, he played with the Casorelas.
I'll be darned.
So, and those guys were good enough to play with him, and then he went on, played Major League Ball. He was a pitcher for the White Sox. So, like I say, there was probably a lot of good players from Colton that they just didn't look at him as major,
Well,
major
never
league
got
players.
recognition.
They were
Like you said, they were invisible.
invisible.
Yeah.
And it's sad. But if we don't do something, or if I don't do something with their sons, they're gonna be invisible if we don't do something about it and put them. But I already have their picture at the museum,
Mm-hmm.
because I know Mike Murphy pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Now, who's Mike Murphy?
he's the one that runs the museum. You guys know Mike. Yeah,
Mhm.
good guy.
Mhm.
Yeah. His wife and I graduated same year, and then his mom and my mom were in the same grade also, so.
Mhm. So everybody in Colton is related?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can't talk bad about it.
I know. Now, let me ask you, besides this project, I know this is kind of a project that you're getting yourself into right away, and pulling up your sleeves, sweater sleeve, and getting into it. You also mentioned that you'd like to do something about the Mercury organization.
Yeah, they would be, what I'm gonna do is do this first, the older guys first.
Okay.
Because Mercury's, there's still a lot of alive. Some have already passed, because most of the Mercury guys are in their 90s.
Mhm.
The guys I want to go after, they're way over 100 years old. So they'll be the next one,
So
my
they'll-
project.
Okay, this will be the next project after this one.
After the old guys, yeah. The ones that are over 100 years old.
Okay.
There's none of them that are alive
Mhm.
there. But, because the ones from the original Mercury's from 39, I can't do them all, because they went to 1970, in the 70s. I would just have to go after the early ones,
The 40s and the 50s?
yeah. Yeah, like Camilo and the Cuates and those guys. But I still won't have the picture of all those. I mean, I'm gonna just go after the ones that were in that picture I have,
Mhm.
with Beto, Rosales, and
Mhm.
there was Baker Martinez, who I think the parents owned the Martinez Market.
Yes, bakery, yeah.
Yeah, Nick Martinez, you know.
Mhm, Nick
Yeah,
Martinez, yeah.
And the Suchos,
Mhm.
so I'm gonna be busy, so.
Very busy.
So
very-
hopefully I can do it, and I'm sure I'm gonna get their sons and
Mhm.
relatives to help me out, because, to get extra information.
Mhm,
So that's what I plan to do.
mhm.
So I'll be
Now,
busy.
Mel, where did these old timers, Porfirio, Castorena, and those fellows, where did they play? Because the Colton ballpark didn't get started until 1939.
That's something I found out, because the pictures I have, excuse me, I thought it was the old Veterans Park, there in
Mhm,
South Colton.
mhm.
No, there's on the corner of Rancho and Aguamanza,
Mhm.
okay? There's a corner there where they stock carnival stuff. I don't know, you've probably
Yes,
gone
I
by.
know where that is. Yeah.
That's where that park was.
Mhm.
Juan Caldera built that. Juan Caldera built the plunge that was on Fifth Street, which was all in that same area.
Mhm.
He built a bull ring for bullfights.
Mhm.
Of course, he had a nightclub too, dancing, a dance hall.
Uh-huh.
And this is a guy, early entrepreneur, you know. This guy did a lot.
And
Well,
what,
he's
what years were these, Mel? The 20s and 30s?
probably the 20s and 30s, yeah,
Mhm, mhm.
yeah. And Betty Caldera's his daughter.
Mhm.
So out of that big family, I'm trying to give me a little picture, that's all I want.
Mhm.
And that's the last one as far as pictures. But then after that, I have to go after their relatives, so they make sure they can be there at the induction.
Mhm.
Because if there's nobody there,
So these ball players played at Caldera Field?
yeah. There was the Cubs Park, they called it. Corralón, I think it was Corralón, they called it the Corral or something, but they called it Cubs Park too.
Mm-hmm.
Which I never even knew there was a ballpark there.
Did the Portland Cement Company have a ball field?
I heard they did, and I'm not sure if that was their thing, but then I heard that they had another, but right there on Rancho too, so there was probably two parks there. I never saw that one.
Mm-hmm.
And the plunge, going back to the plunge that Caldera built on, that's because we couldn't swim at the municipal park plunge. We weren't allowed.
Mm-hmm.
The only day was on Wednesdays when they were gonna change the water.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I heard, my generation before me, I don't think you went through it, at the new Colton Theater. One side for the Mexicanos, other side for the Anglos.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they had the Hub City, I remember that, there was two, now I haven't heard anything about them.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying is true. I haven't
Well,
heard
that
them.
was a reality back then.
Yeah,
There was reality back then that we had the barrier, the border, which was the Southern Pacific Railroad.
yes,
Yes, yes.
The other side of the
That was
tracks.
part of it. Anyway, let me ask you, you mentioned that your dad came from Casablanca?
yeah, but in later years, he went to high school at Banning High, four-year letterman. I've got his sweater. He was in, not baseball, he was in track and basketball. So, in fact, I got a picture of my mom where she's wearing his letterman, and I still have the letterman. But I gotta go back there, and I wanna look through the yearbooks, because I don't know. I have an old picture of how he looked back then, but nothing like a yearbook picture when he was playing.
Mhm.
So that's another project.
So how did your mom and dad meet?
I heard it was at a dance. At a dance at the Valley Ballroom, or
Yes, okay, yes.
remember, that's where the Inland Center is at.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
And it's changed names several, but it was they had the big bands there. They had
Mhm.
Tommy Dorsey and all those big guys.
Mhm.
But that's where a lot of people met each other.
Mhm.
And like I say, and then my dad, like I say, he graduated probably high school in 30, I'm gonna say 36, 37. Then he went on, he didn't stop there, he went on to Riverside City College and lettered there. I've got that jacket. Because back then it was sweaters, but then they changed the jackets,
Mhm.
but I never knew him though.
So it was a wonderful combination between
Oh.
him and your mom. They were
Well-
both sports people.
Yeah, well, I ran track and cross country. I played basketball and with the guys, but I made my mark my last year. I ran cross country and I took second in CBL. Gabe Casorena Jr., who was my mom's coach, he was better than me in longer distance.
Mhm.
But we went into track, and the mile was my specialty.
Mhm.
So my last year, I took first in CBL and broke a 10-year CBL record. I broke, our school record was 15 years old. So, and I think I told you that. I did all that, went to CIF, I took a fifth in CIF. I didn't get anything, no scholarships or nothing. Now, they sent 8, the first 8 go to state. I didn't go to state. I only took the first 3.
Mhm.
Of course, there was less schools back then, but, I didn't hear from anybody.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm not gonna put the blame on that because I could have gone, but then I got married. I was telling you earlier, I got married at 18, so.
You got married young. You got
Yeah,
married very young.
so, but, I don't, at that part, I don't regret, because I've got 4 daughters, I've got 10 grandkids, I already got 9 great-grandkids, and that's because we started young.
Mhm.
But,
How old was Lucy when you got married?
she was 15.
15?
Yeah, I was 12. No, I was 18. I always throw that in, because every time they say it, people look at me, God, you
Yeah.
animal.
Now, how did your mom get your dad to move to Colton?
Well, my dad never lived in Colton, because when she got married, they went to Casablanca. That's where he lived.
Okay, okay.
And then from there, he went to San Diego when he worked for Consolidated. My brother was born in San Diego.
Uh-huh.
So from there, I guess they drafted him or he signed. I don't know. I never found out.
Mhm.
But he had died within a year after that
Mhm.
at Fort Lewis, Washington.
Mhm.
So, like I say, I was 3, but I don't remember him. But I just remember how a great athlete he was. Then I found out about my mom, so I had some pretty good genes there.
Yes,
know?
you did. Yes,
Yeah.
you did. Good athletic
Yeah,
genes.
so he was a good track guy and basketball. But I'll find out how, if I
So,
can
so
find
after
those
he passed away, your mom moved back
Went to Colton, yeah.
Uh-huh.
We lived there with my grandparents.
Okay.
On Walnut Street, Tobacco Road,
Mhm.
like I mentioned. And my mom worked, and my grandparents, and this probably story is the same with a lot of people. They helped raise us, so I looked at my grandma and my grandpa as another dad, dad that I never had, and my grandmother, and my mom worked.
Where did she work?
She worked at that time at Roskins. It was a woman's apparel where they sold mainly wedding gowns and she did very well there. She supported me and my brother. My mom remarried and that lasted 3 years, and she had a daughter, which is my half sister, Jeannie. And like I say, it only lasted 3 years. Then we moved to Northern California for 2, and then when I came back to Colton, I was already a junior. And that's where I started my running. So, but my mom was a very hard worker. In her lifetime, by herself, she had bought 4 homes, not all together, one right after another. She never, but how many women could do that by themselves back then? Well, she did. God bless her. And I still have her. She'll be 90 in July.
Now, you mentioned you have a half sister. Do you have
Yes.
any other brothers and sisters?
Well, you want me to get into that? I found out there was a guy that came to my house. It's already going to be 2 years. And Mel, I said, yeah. He says, I'm Ramon. I'm your brother. Well, evidently, my dad, this is before he married my mom, was into, and he got this gal pregnant. And at the time, I found out later through him that the lady was already married, but the guy was in his deathbed, and he was older than she was. And if my dad knew, I didn't know if he knew. I don't think he even knew that she was pregnant. She went to Kansas, had the baby. That's another story. He was adopted over there, but somehow he found out who his dad was. It's my dad. It was his dad. He looks more like my dad than I do.
I'll be darned.
So that's another story about my dad.
Yeah.
But like I say, it didn't happen.
But with your mom and your dad, you have another brother?
Yeah, Al.
Al, okay.
Yeah.
Is he older or younger?
He's younger. He's a year and so many months younger. He lives in Lancaster. He just retired in corrections. But he barbered with me for a while when it was Los Hermanos. He was there for about 10 years, then he left.
And you mentioned your family, 4 daughters?
4 daughters, yeah.
Now, Mel, you started working very early because you married very, very early.
Yes.
How did you get into barbering? Because you were a barber for how many years?
When I retired, it was 50 years, right
50
there.
years?
At the same place, yeah.
At same place?
Yeah.
And that's where?
On the corner of Rancho and Mill,
Uh-huh.
yeah, where there's a Stater Brothers Center there.
Mhm.
Yeah, lived more than half my life there. And people ask me, do you miss, I said, I don't miss the work or